Vivian and Harry were smooching, kissing, cuddling, and romancing. Their laughter floated in the quiet of the golden dusk, tangled with the scent of jasmine and the soft chirping of the evening birds. They sat beneath the old willow in the backyard, where the light always seemed kinder and time moved slower. His hand traced lazy circles on her back. She whispered something. He smiled. He loved her laugh, and I watched from the kitchen window, pretending to wash dishes, the water long gone cold. It wasn't jealousy, at least not in the cruel way it sounds. It was more like longing, like watching someone drink water while your own throat burned from thirst. I'd known Harry for years, and I'd loved him in silence for nearly as long. But he never looked at me the way he looked at Vivian. Vivian, my younger sister. Harry, my brother, not by blood. Harry was adopted into our family when he was 8. I was 10 then, Vivian was 5. I still remember the way he clung to Mom's dress, unsure of his place. He was quiet, almost too quiet, and always carried a sadness in his eyes, like he had known too much loss too soon. I tried to be his friend, his sister. Over time, we grew close. He became family, but the heart, the stupid heart, sometimes forgets rules. As we got older, my feelings for Harry became harder to ignore. At first, I brushed them off as childish confusion, but by the time I turned 16, I knew. It was love, deep, stubborn, and painful. I never told anyone, especially not Vivian. Vivian was light. She moved through the world with ease, smiling at strangers, talking to flowers, laughing with dogs. People were drawn to her like bees to nectar. I don't blame Harry for loving her. Everyone did. She was joy, bottled in human form. Harry began falling for her slowly, like snow melting. I saw the signs, the longer glances, the subtle touch of hands, the softness in his voice when he said her name. And then one day, I saw them kiss. It was the first time I truly understood what heartbreak felt like. It was like something tore inside me, a rip so silent, no one else heard it, but it echoed in my bones for days. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. I loved her too. I loved them both. So, I did what I'd always done, I stayed silent. That summer, their love bloomed, bold and reckless. They danced in the rain, made pancakes at midnight, and left love notes around the house like teenagers in a movie. I'd find them tucked between books, on the bathroom mirror, or even under my pillow by mistake. Sometimes I'd keep them, those scraps of tenderness, as if holding their love could help me understand mine. One evening, while Vivian was out getting ice cream, Harry sat beside me on the porch. We hadn't talked properly in days. His face was lit by the dim porch light, and he looked older somehow, wearier. "Do you ever feel," he began, "like love is both a gift and a punishment?" I turned to him slowly, heart pounding. "All the time." He smiled, a tired, fragile smile. "I never thought I'd feel this way. I used to think love was for people who didn't grow up like I did." He never talked about his past. Not really, but I knew there was darkness, foster homes, cold nights, and too many goodbyes. "Vivian, she makes it easy to believe. To feel." I nodded, feeling tears burn behind my eyes. "She does that." He looked at me then, really looked, and for a split second, something passed between us. Something raw and unspoken. Then he looked away. "I hope I don't ruin it," he whispered. "I always ruin things." I wanted to tell him he wouldn't. I wanted to tell him he was good and kind and worthy of everything. But my throat closed up. My words stayed locked behind the cage of my teeth. A month later, Vivian fell ill. At first, it was just a persistent fever. Then the tests began. Then the silence. Then the breaking news, leukemia. Everything blurred after that. The world tilted. Time collapsed. Harry stopped smiling. I stopped dreaming. And Vivian began to fade. But she never stopped laughing. Not once. Even when her hair fell out. Even when the vomiting wouldn't stop. Even when she could barely lift her head, she smiled. She called Harry her hero, and kissed his fingers every time he held her trembling hand. We spent nights by her hospital bed, sometimes talking, mostly crying. I began to write letters I never sent. One to Vivian, thanking her for being the son. One to Harry, telling him everything I never said. And one to myself, trying to make sense of the pain. Harry didn't leave her side. He read her poetry, played 6 her favorite songs, and whispered dreams they'd never get to live. I caught him crying once, when she was asleep. He sobbed into her blanket like a child, whispering, "Don't go, please don't go." But Vivian did. On a cold Thursday morning in February, with snow falling gently outside the window, she slipped away. I thought the world would end. I wished it would, but it didn't. The days that followed were hollow. We moved through the funeral like ghosts. Mom stopped cooking, Dad stopped talking, and Harry disappeared, not physically, but emotionally. He stopped speaking, literally. Doctors called it selective mutism, brought on by trauma, they said. But I knew it was grief. He had loved so deeply, and now the weight of that love crushed him. We tried therapy, medications, patience, nothing helped. He sat in his room most days, staring out the window, a shadow of the boy he once was. Then one day, a year after Vivian's death, I found one of her letters. She had written it during her last days, hidden it in the drawer of her bedside table. It was addressed to me. Greater than dear big sis, I know your heart hurts. I know you loved him too. I saw it, how your eyes followed him, how your smile broke every time I touched his hand. I never said anything because I didn't want to make you feel worse. But I want you to know, he loved you too, in his own way. I used to ask him once if he'd ever been in love before me. He said yes. She lives in the same house, he told me. She doesn't know. That broke me a little, but I also understood. You were his anchor, his first soft place, but I was his fire, and we both needed him differently. Promise me something. Don't let your love become a burden. Let it breathe, let it live. Love is meant to be given, not hidden. Even if it hurts, tell him, one day, for me, with all the love in the stars. Vivian. I cried for hours. That night, I sat beside Harry. The moonlight painted his face silver. He didn't look at me, but I read him her letter. Slowly, softly, he closed his eyes. His lips quivered, but still, he didn't speak. I reached for his hand. It was cold. I loved you, I whispered. I still do. He turned to me, and something shifted in his gaze. A recognition, a shared ache, and then, he nodded. Not a word, but a nod, a gesture of understanding, of grief, of something like forgiveness. We didn't talk that night, but we didn't need to. We sat there, wrapped in silence, and in that silence, I felt something new, peace, maybe. Or the beginning of it. Months passed. Harry still didn't speak, but he wrote. Journals, poems, little notes. One day, he left a note on my desk. Greater than love doesn't always need words. Sometimes an embrace says what the mouth cannot. And he was right, because some days, when grief feels too heavy, we sit together and just hold each other. His arms around me feel like memory and sorrow and healing. It's not romantic, it's not dramatic, it's just real. Love changes, it grows, it bends, it breaks, and sometimes, it mends. Vivian once said the power of an embrace can save a soul. I think she was right. Harry may never say what she did, but when he holds me, I know I was loved, am loved, in a way that's different, but just as deep. And in the end, maybe that's enough.